Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to SP Reviews, where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Xero Styx, titled Xero Styx. And if we switch over to here, this is quite a long track. It's 9 minutes 36, it's off of the album Xero Styx. So we're going to listen through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Interesting choice with the brass and the vocals there and the guitar. It's kind of fascinating, really. It's sort of an unusual motif, but I'm living for it, man. It's cool. Oh, there's a bit of weird tension and dissonance in that harmony, but I like it. It's got that horror movie vibe with the album art, so it's pretty dope. Really pretty guitar tone, actually. It sits really well in the center of the stereo field. Ah, the high strings are gorgeous, man. Good job. Oh, that was a weird kind of twist. Oh, and that bass. Great panning of the piano on the right. Got a similar bass line and chord progression throughout. Just more articulation and further development of the melodies in the center. Good job. Nice work with the different rhythms with the different instruments. Makes it sound bigger, more grandiose. Great use of the 9 minutes 36 that this track is. It's actually a really pretty piano line on the right. Oh. This is happier than I was expecting it to sound. Oh. Was that diminished or flat? Okay. Oh, that guitar tone, dude. Those drums though. Oh, you changed the groove. I was expecting dun dun. Really intense sidechaining on those kicks, but I kind of dig it. Are we messing with the original motif, or is there a different idea now? I mean, obviously it sounds different, there's different instruments in the arrangement, but still. Oh, the panning there. Woo, okay. Woo, okay, I like this. I'm vibing with this, man. I wonder what kind of guitars they're using, man. I'm also curious about the tone of that kick. Is that a mixture of like an acoustic and samples, or is it just acoustic, or is it just samples? So many different riffs as well, lots of variation. Like I'm not moving like this because I feel like I have to. It's got says riffs for days, son. Hey, great. I love that variation between the slow and faster sort of ideas. I love the change in pace. It's almost like we have an unofficial verse chorus. Yeah, I'm glad that we have the strings coming in to further add a bit more in the sort of the mid to highs. The tone of the guitars and the drums and everything is great. But we had orchestral arrangements, like a bit of brass before. Woo. Please bring in some pinch harmonics. Ah, come on. Well. Ah, here we go. Good job having the held notes. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad about listening to a 9-minute 30 track. When it's done this well, it just flies by, you know? Very impressive. Very impressive. See, it's just little things like that lead line on top. We didn't really have that before, but it's new now because it is there, and it reinvigorates that riff. The gradual development but keeping it nonetheless intriguing and relevant is what makes longer form factor songs like this possible. I think that's what keeps them compelling, you know? Excellent work, man. Ooh, a little bit of palm muting there. Ah, not overplaying. Great job. Great vibrato as well, dude. Yep, the lead with the strings is a master stroke. Absolute master stroke. I'm sold on this now, man. Yeah, bring it down, do that. Halftime. Boosh. You can hear that bass in there just filling in that low end really nicely. Really clicky kick, but I'm not mad about it, dude. It cuts through the mix like a knife. That's it, bring it up. Bring it up. There we go. Boom. Yep. I don't mind having a slightly more sassy guitar solo after the first one if we know we can voice it elegantly. Have a bit more shred in this one, you know? A bit more variation. I wonder how this would sound live. I know I'm a bit difficult with some of those sort of brass and string elements and stuff like that unless I have dedicated people playing those. They might do it on a keyboard or a sampler or something like that. I'm wondering how much more real estate they can get out of this though. How much more leeway. Or mileage rather, that's the word I was looking for. Okay, cool, compelling shred solo. That was the right place to put it though, to be fair. There's the right place. And it just finishes, dude. It just finishes. Hell of a track, man, a hell of a tune. Because this is the conclusion of my review of a track called Xero Styx, self-titled from Xero Styx, off of the album Xero Styx. Wow. I'm not sure what this track is about. That's partially due to a lack of lyrics. This is, of course, an instrumental, but I don't mind. It's one of the rare occasions where I'm listening to an instrumental of this length where I am totally I'm totally fine with it. It's, obviously we moved past the vocal part at the conclusion because we didn't have vocals. The motif itself, you had like a 3 or 4 chord thing going on there, which kept consistent throughout the entirety of it. It set a mood earlier on with the guitars and the strings and the brass and those elements there. And then later on, those drums came in with the distorted guitars, the bass, and those leads and other higher mid elements. And I don't know how they did it, but they managed to keep that exciting for the whole 9 minutes 30. I mean, I'll be honest, about that 8:45 mark, I was like, okay, I think we've heard a lot of it. What are they going to do to keep us going for the last 45 seconds? And they brought in the shreddy sort of tappy solos on the lead guitar, and I was like, yep, that sold it. There we go, you've pulled me back in. I listen to these tracks that are these long form factors in the music industry that we have today. I'm not going to pretend that I can guarantee that like a track like this that's an instrumental at 9 minutes 36 is going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I think that people need to give it a chance. And the reason is because, well, there's several reasons. One, it's just an absolute banger of a tune, dude. I was nodding my head without even really meaning to or wanting to. But part of it, let's elaborate on that, because that's not enough for it's not enough. I think in part it's because you had that sameness of the original motif that was carried on and developed and sort of split up between these different ingredients within the mix and the arrangement. You had such range and diversity from these elements here, like, again, the guitars and the bass and the drums and the strings and the brass and all that. I think having the first 2 minutes of the sort of orchestral, sort of classical kind of way of sort of, almost like an acoustic way of putting it forward, was a smart move, because it's like, hang on a minute, I'm looking at that album art and I see skeletons in a forest of black and white trees and darkness. And I'm like, this doesn't seem to quite fit the art. But then, boom, the guitars come in with the drums and the bass and everything. And you're like, oh, I get it now. You are kind of pulling us in a little bit, and then bam, you hit us. You hit us with the right hook, or the left hook. And it's an absolute slammer, man. Like, there was not a note out of place for that performance. Anytime we mixed around with those drum grooves, had some really cool little fills going on there. The kicks were so consistent, man. To play that like that for 9 minutes as well is testament to their skill, their prowess, their polish, man. The guitars as well were so tight, you know. They're obviously not quite time for production yet. But I do really enjoy and appreciate what's going on with, like, just how clear and how precise those notes were, whether it was the rhythm or the lead parts with the tremolo, tappy sort of stuff going on near the end. The bass was fairly foundational. I rolled with those root notes quite a bit. I didn't hear a lot of fretboard exploration, but I don't think we necessarily needed it. I think it's testament, though, to the skill of the arrangement that we had such a lovely little concepts on the brass instruments and the string parts and everything, and the guitar and the center field and in the earlier part of the track. I think that was beautiful and it was gorgeous, and it wasn't your typical chord progressions either. Like, I know that, like, we had some variations on the tail ends of that last part, and we had some major lifts and stuff like that, and we had some adorable. I think we stayed predominantly within the same key signature for both of those sections, like the cleaner part for the 2 minutes and the distorted part for the 7. But at the same time, it felt extremely well considered, and it was like we understood the intricacies of both of those types of composition, because you're not gonna, if you made a track exclusively in that first style and then or in the other one, there's different considerations for both, you know. You're not really necessarily needing to put like ludicrous double kicks and blast beats and stuff like that with like your violins and stuff a lot of the time, unless you're getting really kind of spicy with it. And it's also layering them in the frequency spectrum and getting them all to find their own sort of little home so that they didn't resonate and sort of bump up against each other the wrong way. It would have taken a while to get this track sorted and written, but I think they absolutely smashed it. Finally, you know, the production, recording, mixing, and mastering was exquisite, you know. Not only was there chemistry between the band members and the people playing the instruments, but we also had really solid production now. I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't initially concerned by the compression on some of the instruments at the start. It kind of got like, especially when those guitarists came in at the beginning of like the 2/3 minutes, like whoa, they sound like sounds like there's being a bit of pressure put on them, but not too much. It didn't pump or breathe or do any of that kind of weird stuff. It sat. I think it's one of those experiences where as you get used to how it sounds, you start to appreciate it more. The actual recording quality of the different instruments was fantastic. They were very professional sounding. They were EQ'd and filtered well, and the effects chains where they were appropriate for it. You know, we had some reverb parts. We had some interesting sort of like held notes, and then when we needed to have the not reverb, we cut them short and had them nice, and they were nicely placed and coming through clearly. And it was just nice and wide in the stereo field, and we played with different sides on different instruments and everything like that. And it just, you know, it sounded huge. And the limiting compression, you know, of the actual master chain itself, it was nice and loud without pumping or kind of crushing it. And I just, honestly, I'm very impressed with this. This is my first time listening to Xero Styx. They've got it sorted, man. I really hope they can continue to make stuff like this. And if this track is this strong, I can only assume that the rest of the album is equivalent. But thank you very much for watching my review of Xero Styx by Xero Styx. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go check out their various social medias and the Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.